In today's video, we're going to talk about how to set up a 120-gallon tank for a corn snake. The enclosure that I'm using is a Zoo enclosure. I've told Zoo that we're making these videos, and for these videos, I've worked out to get you a 15% discount code. Go down below and go to their website and use the code R and R. If you want to do the exact same setup and follow along, you can do that. So the very first thing that we're going to do is put in our bedding at the bottom. We call that substrate. The substrate we're going to be using today is Reptichip. Now, in the UK, I've got a different brand, but for you in the States, it'll be Reptichip. You add water to the block and it expands into a huge amount of substrate. So the value for money is absolutely insane. If you check down below, you'll find it linked on Amazon. Add it to the bottom of this tank. Now, the good thing about this product is it can be humid or it can be dry. This stuff doesn't rot or go moldy if it gets wet. Quite a few of the substrates that are wood actually mildew and mold if they get wet. This stuff gets wet, holds it, no problem, will dry out later on. It's perfect for a corn snake and it allows you to do lots of things I'll talk about in a minute. We want to make sure that we give them a nice deep amount, at least a few inches, just for our corn snake to dig around and root around in the substrate. It's nice deep chunks, so if it falls on the carpet, you can just simply pick it up. It's not like sand or soil where it gets in the carpet and it's awful. So for that reason, from a human perspective, I really like it. The next thing I'm going to do is add some decor. I'm using cork in this example, but it can be anything. It can be wood from outside. It doesn't matter too much as long as it's clean. But the good thing about this cork is that cork is mold and rot resistant, so it can stay in this setup for years and not break down, whereas a lot of wood from outside will eventually start breaking down. You want to try and like dig it down so that the corn snake can get under it and dig under it and it doesn't roll very easily. But the good thing about this is it's a nice big piece of wood, but it's really lightweight, so if it falls, it's not going to crush or kill or harm a corn snake. Don't be afraid to experiment and see how you want it to go. That could be like a tree stump. I'm basically going for the fallen logs that you would find corn snakes under when you go herping. This piece of driftwood is going to look nice, twisting and growing in one direction, I think. Or maybe just at the front like that. Up the top like this. I'm going to use these arms right here as anchor points for the branches now. So the next thing is branches. I am going to start placing branches up like this. I'm going to use these arms to interlock it with that. That's a really good addition. Corn snakes are known to climb a lot in the wild, so it's really important that we give them the opportunity to have a bit of a climb in their enclosure. Again, these branches are from outside, you can do that. As long as they're clean, they're good to go. Don't be afraid to move them around and see how it looks and see how it functions. If it's not right, you can always move it. I quite like that, that interlocks it there for them to climb. And then another branch I'm going to place across here like this and have it locked up there. So it crosses it, and now I've used these branches to interlock and stop them from rolling around. Now what I've done is, rather than it just being access to the floor and they just slither around on the floor, I can now let our corn snake climb up to the top and have more usable space in this whole big enclosure. Rather than having this big empty space and they just crawl around on the floor and all this is unused, now it can access all of this. The next thing I'm going to do is use some potted plants. This cost me £4.50. Even if it dies, you know what? It can be replaced. I'm going to leave it in the pots so I can take them out when they're dead and swap in new ones. Right here looks like a good spot. If I interlock it so it's held by the wood, then it looks like it's growing out of a background that isn't there. I've simply just locked it in place. But look how good that looks. It looks entirely natural, and all I've done is slide a pot into some branches. It's great and cheap and functional. The next one I'm using is some household ivy. Again, this cost me £4. Same thing. If it dies, it dies. If it lives, great. I could like literally just have it in that pot and turn that into a planter. There we go, that looks nice. Look at that, that looks absolutely lovely. Have it grow up like that. It looks mature. You can twist it so it covers the pot itself and hides it. How does that look? Does that look good? I think that looks great. I think that looks amazing. The next one I'm going to use is the jade plant. Again, it's a succulent. This will grow really well. You can just buy cheap potted plants from the garden centre. As long as it hasn't had pesticides sprayed on it, you can use it. If I get it to come forward like this. How does that look? That looks a bit better, right? So it's in the centre We're really starting to get that woodland vibe that corn snakes are often found in North America. Now the next thing is a water bowl. I'm going to place this on the cool end, which I'll show you in a minute. I can put that right here, fill that with water, we've got our snake water bowl. That can be from the dollar store, doesn't matter, online, whatever. But it doesn't have to be here, the water bowl can be here, 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 anywhere accessible near the front that you can open the door and quickly reach in. So I think we've got something quite special here now. The next thing to do is go over our heating and lighting. We're going to want a heat lamp in a dome. You can get the heat lamps very cheap on our Amazon, link down below. You can also get the Fluker's dome, which is this bit that screws into, for like $11 or $14 on our Amazon too. It can be done quite cheap, so check out the Amazon links down below. But you want to plonk that on one side. I'm going to plonk that over that piece of wood in that corner, and we're going to make that our basking spot. I'll switch that on. Ta-da! Now our corn snake can be in the forest, but then go sit in a patch of sunshine when they want to warm up, just like they would outside. The next thing you're going to need is a temperature gun. This measures how hot an object is in your enclosure. I'm going to point and shoot and get a reading. I've got a reading of 81, which is perfect. This basking spot, ideally we want to be anywhere from 26 degrees Celsius to around like 32 at a max, which is like 80 to 90. So as long as this is 80 to 90, you're bang on perfect. But what if our basking spot is too hot or too cold? What if it's too cold? You want to take that heat lamp out and buy a higher wattage heat lamp and put it in there and try that and measure again. Or if the reverse, if it's too hot, let's say you're using 100 watts, take that 100 watt out and try 75 watts. Basically, buy different wattages of heat lamp and then try them and find your Goldilocks zone. And once you do that, bang on perfect. Okay, great. So our basking spot is set up and that's A-okay. What about how hot the air gets in our enclosure? Because that matters too. What you're going to want is a thermometer. This one actually measures both temperature and humidity. I like to plonk mine over in the corner away from the basking spot, like here. The reason for that is if I put it under the lights, it's not going to read the air temperature for me. It's just going to read how hot it gets under the lights or how hot objects in the basking spot get, not how hot our air temperature is. So keep it out of the lights and that's how it measures air temperature. The air temperatures during the day can be anywhere from like 70 to 80. I find that corn snakes, once their air temperature goes above 80, they start getting a bit uncomfortable. At night time, we're going to turn all our lights off and they can go down to like 68. In the winter, they'll go down to like 50, depending on where you live. Unless you live somewhere truly, truly cold, they don't need any supplemental heating at night. You can just turn everything off. Now, corn snakes like to be kept quite dry, but corn snakes also love to go down a hole like they would outside, where it's nice and cool and humid, or warm and humid, just a moist environment they can go into, especially around shedding. So it's really important they have somewhere that's moist for them to go down to for a bit of humidity. What we can do is give them a hide that's stuffed with moist sphagnum moss for them to go into and use, or if you're using Reptichip like I am, because it can go dry and wet and it doesn't matter, what you can simply do is fill up a jug of water and then pour water into areas that you want to increase humidity and have a bit of moisture at the bottom. For example, that plant at the top left, if I were to pour water to water the plants and it's all going along around this hide, I know that in this hide and under this hide and behind this hide is going to be a moist area. And if you keep it as a moist area, you basically don't need a humid hide because you're doing it by adding water to the one patch of the enclosure. So give your corn snake choices, dry and moist, and it can choose what it wants during the day. Corn snakes can take a huge range. It can be really dry or be quite humid. So really, as long as your environment isn't sodden wet, as long as they have the opportunity to get dry and then humid, humidity doesn't really matter. But if you shoot overall for around 50%, if you go either way, doesn't really matter. Corn snakes are really, really hardy. The next thing I'm going to do is add UVB to my setup. So we're going to use UVB across here. I'm going to turn it on. Fantastic. Corn snakes typically love UVB and it's so beneficial for their health. So if we add a UVB, it makes it much more like sunshine in our basking spot and it's great for our corn snakes. You can place the UVB like this or you can do it like this. But what you want to do is make sure they have an access to light and shade. They can be in their log pile in the shade and cool down or go sit in the sunshine just like they can outside. Now you might notice this tank is a little bit dim, and what we want to do is make it much more like sunshine for them to have the best care possible. So I'm going to add a LED spotlight from Sansi. It's on Amazon, link down below. It's really, really bright and it's really good at growing plants. So we're going to plonk this at the basking site next to our heat lamp in our UVB, and I'm going to turn that on now. 1, 2, 3, bam. Look how bright it turns the setup. By having this lamp, it's really good for the corn snake's health, it's good for their hormones, their mental health, for lights during day, waking up and going to sleep, but also it also plays a role in warming up in the same way the heat lamp does. So by adding that, it's so beneficial to our corn snakes. What you'll notice about this setup is that everything is designed as a choice. To be in the sunshine, to be in the shade, to be in the moisture, to be in the dry, to be up high, to be down low, to be out at the front, to be at the back. Everything is designed as a choice to be the best possible setup, the best care for your corn snake. Every single item used in this video, everything from the plants, to the substrates, to the lighting, is all linked down below in Amazon links. So if you want to go find that, check that out. If you like these videos, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.